When you hear made in China, what comes to your mind? Cheap, substandard, Chinko. Let me tell you about a Chinese company that started with 10 employees making radios in 1969 and now the world's second largest TV manufacturers, selling over 150 countries including Nigeria. This is the story of Hisense. It all began in 1969 in Qingdao, a coastal city in eastern China. The Chinese government established Qingdao No. 2 Radio Factory as a state-owned enterprise with just 10 employees. Their mission was to make affordable radios for Chinese citizens. Back then, China was still recovering from decades of war and political upheaval. Most Chinese families couldn't afford imported electronics, so the government decided to localize production. Qingdao No. 2 Radio Factory started producing radios under the name Red Lantern, but the radios alone weren't enough. In 1971, they got a contract from the Shandong National Defense Office to produce black and white televisions. 3 workers were sent to Tianjin 712 factory for specialized training, and by 1971, they had produced 82 televisions. By 1975, they were making transistor TVs. In 1978, they launched their first TV model, the CJD-18, under the brand name Qingdao. It wasn't fancy, but it worked, and Chinese families could afford it. Then came 1979, and everything changed. The Ministry of Electronics in Beijing held a session urging the growth of civil-use electronics. Qingdao No. 2 Radio Factory quickly merged with other national electronics producers and began Qingdao General Television Factory. But the real transformation came in 1992 when a 35-year-old engineer called Zhou Houjian was appointed general manager. Zhou wasn't just an engineer. Born in 1959 in Qingdao, he was one of the first batch of students to attend college after China reopened university entrance exams. He achieved the highest science course in his city and entered Shandong University's electronics department in 1978. During college, Zhou received grants and didn't pay tuition, accommodation, or book fees. Students in the electronics department even got a subsidy of 400 yuan each term. That is when he decided, I will study hard and serve the nation. After graduation, Zhou was assigned to Qingdao Television Factory as a technician. He gradually climbed the ranks: supervisor, assistant factory director, and by age 35, factory director. When Zhou took over in 1992, he saw a problem. China had dozens of small electronics factories, all making similar products with different brand names. There was no unified identity, no global ambition, no innovation. So Zhou did something radical. In 1993, he renamed Qingdao brand to Hisense, a name that was brilliant in its simplicity, but had an intentional meaning. In English, Hisense sounds like high sense, suggesting heightened sensibility and superior sensory technology, better picture quality, better sound, better user experience. But in Chinese, the name Haixing carries deeper meaning. Hai means sea or ocean, representing vastness and Qingdao's coastal identity, while Xin means trust or faith. Together, it means ocean of trust. Zhou deliberately chose a name that worked in both Chinese and English. It sounded modern, international, and easy to pronounce anywhere in the world. In March 1993, the new trademark was officially registered. Then in 1994, Zhou convinced the government to relax state ownership and establish Hisense Company Limited with him as CEO. For the first time, the factory had freedom to make business decisions, invest in research, and expand globally. And Zhou moved fast. In 1998, Hisense had already started import and export business. But in 1993, Zhou formally participated in the Canton Fair to open up international markets. His strategy was clear: expand through OEM business and gain channel resources and experience while developing Hisense brand in key markets. Then in October 1996, Hisense took its first step in Africa by establishing Hisense South Africa. Why South Africa? Because Zhou saw something that others didn't see, which was a growing environment hungry for affordable quality electronics. By April 1997, Hisense Electrical Appliance Shareholding Company was publicly listed on the Shanghai Stock Exchange, raising capital for R&D and expansion. The company was no longer just a state factory, it was a global corporation. But Zhou wasn't satisfied with just making TVs. He wanted Hisense to innovate. Then in 2000, Hisense spent over 30 million yuan to develop China's first digital video processing chip, independent intellectual property rights. Now, before this, all 72 million color TVs made in China annually used foreign chips. Hisense broke that monopoly. In June 2005, they created China's first industrial digital video processing chip that could be officially commercialized. In September 2007, they built China's first LCD model production line, breaking the history of foreign monopoly in the color TV industry. Zhou's vision was simple and powerful. From made in China to created in China. In 2010, he became the first Chinese entrepreneur in 43 years to deliver a keynote speech at the CES Summit Forum in the United States. But innovation alone wasn't enough. Zhou needed to scale. So Hisense started acquiring companies. In 2006, they acquired Guangdong Qilong, a major refrigerator and air conditioner manufacturer. In 2015, they bought a Sharp factory in Mexico for $23.7 million and got the rights to use the Sharp brand on TVs in North and South America. Then in 2017, they bought 95% of Toshiba Visual Solutions for $140 million. In 2018, they acquired 100% of Gorenje, one of Europe's largest home appliance manufacturers. Today, Hisense sells products under multiple brands, such as Hisense, Toshiba, Sharp, Gorenje, Qilong, and even Roshin. You might be buying a Toshiba TV without knowing it is actually made by Hisense, and the numbers kept increasing. By 2022, Hisense became the world's second largest TV manufacturer. In 2023, they were the fourth largest by market share globally. Their revenue topped 200 billion yen, about $28 billion with over 100,000 employees worldwide and 20 plus industrial and R&D bases. But what about Africa? What about Nigeria? Hisense has been in Africa for 30 years. They started making their first move in South Africa from 1993 to 1994 and then kicked off officially 2 years later. And today, Hisense TVs, refrigerators and freezers occupy the #1 position in the South African market with 98% brand awareness. In 2013, Hisense and China Africa Development Fund jointly established Hisense South Africa Industrial Park, covering over 100,000 square meters. It is the largest household appliance manufacturing plant invested by Chinese enterprises in South Africa in 40 years, creating over 1,000 direct jobs and 5,000 indirect jobs. The success was so impressive that it was selected as a typical case of South-South cooperation by the United Nations. And Hisense didn't stop in South Africa. They expanded rapidly into Nigeria, Angola, Egypt, Algeria, and even Morocco. In Nigeria, Hisense partnered with Fuani Nigeria Limited, a leading distributor of electronics and home appliances, to bring cutting-edge products like mini LED TVs, 8K laser TVs, and smart home appliances to the Nigerian markets. Walk into an electronics store in Lagos, Abuja, Kano, or Port Harcourt today. You will find Hisense products, affordable, reliable, innovative, and proudly made in China but trusted globally. In 2024, Hisense announced plans to build a new factory in Egypt worth $38 million, producing 1.5 million high-end screens annually for exports to Europe and the Middle East and Africa. They are also building factories in Algeria and Morocco. But Hisense's journey wasn't perfect. In 2017, Sharp sued Hisense for allegedly damaging the Sharp brand by selling solely manufactured products and violating US safety standards. The lawsuit sought to halt license to use Sharp's brand in America. It was a public embarrassment. The accusation that Hisense was a low-quality Chinese manufacturer profiting off Sharp's prestigious name. But Hisense fought back. They improved quality control, invested heavily in R&D, and proved that Chinese companies could compete with Japanese and Korean giants like Sony, Samsung, and LG. In March 2023, Zhou Houjian, the man who transformed a small state factory into a global giant, resigned as a chairman at age 65 after 30 years of dedicated service. He left behind a legacy. Hisense is now a world-class brand, not just a cheap Chinese alternative. Listen, when Hisense started in 1969, made in China meant cheap and unreliable. But today, Hisense proves that Chinese companies can innovate, compete, and win on the global stage. Zhou Houjian didn't just build a company, he changed how the world sees Chinese manufacturing. He showed that with discipline, innovation, and long-term vision, you can turn a small company into a global empire.